And welcome once again to DMS 3000 News. It's episode number 141 on this Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. Great to have you back with us for another edition here. And of course, I am Jason DeCanio, the host and moderator of this fantastic program that you are tuning into right now every day at 4 o'clock. Just to let you know that tomorrow on the show, Brandon Martin will be here to take over the reins for the day as the midweek co-host replacement, as they say. Brandon Martin is a great host and announcer of Super Password, Caesar's Challenge, and the Challengers. And he does a whole host of another great shows as well. Plus, he announces some things as well. And he's a high school basketball announcer for their team out there where he lives in Washington. So he is just full of announcing and voicing and just fantastic at the job he does. And well, tomorrow he's got 3 great articles for you, and I have 3 great articles for you today. So let's see what we have on the agenda for this show. We have today, I retired from dating at 43 and I've never been happier. We'll look at this true story about this person who said they don't have to date anymore, I guess because either they're single, which I guess they are, or they found somebody in their lives. But I think the story revolves around the fact that they are single and enjoying every bit of it. Okay, another great story we're going to be looking at is a doctor saved this man's life when he was born early. Years later, he returned the favor. So we're going to look at that story as well, too. And then we have another great true story that happened here. This passenger got an emergency flying lesson after his pilot passed out at 10,000 feet. Wow. So we have 3 great true stories for you today. Another one of those like true story Tuesdays from the Reader's Digest. We'll give you all those great stories later on in the program. Of course, we have our headlines, sports, and other important information. What day is today? And the motivation of the day as well. Those 2 are going to be toward the end of the program. They're always going to be now at the 5 o'clock hour and conclude our program for the day. Also, too, to let you know that David St. Dennis has his program tomorrow with a very special guest, Brendan Kelshin, I think it is. Cleashin. Yeah, I think he's from the Boston Celtics. So I think he's on tomorrow with David at 6 o'clock here on StreamYard. And, of course, YouTube. You can check it out. Check your local listings, though, to see for dates and times and all that good stuff. I think David did a video yesterday that I thought was pretty good, and that he explained when things are going to happen and if they're going to be doing them on a bi-weekly basis. But you can check out David 3000 Hangouts every Wednesday at 6 o'clock. And, of course, the Tier Masters and myself will be back tomorrow night for episode number 26, where we'll look at the continuation of the NES games with the letter K. And also, too, Jordy Scow will be with us, or Jordan Little as it is. Jordan Little will be with us as he is taking the place of Johnny Peasy, who is going to be out of town this week. So we wish Johnny a safe return and hope he's having a great time. And, of course, I have a couple of important information to pass out to you as well. So we'll take a look at that important information in just a little bit. But right now, let's go ahead and get to the headlines and the sports and the other important information for today, March 19th, 2024. In a pandemic milestone, the NIH ends guidance on COVID treatment. The National Institutes of Health is sunsetting its influential COVID-19 treatment guidelines used by millions of doctors to guide care during the pandemic. Wow. Hope they're doing the right thing, as they say. After Laken Riley killing, a Georgia bill prompts fears of an immigration crackdown. After the death of a nursing student, Georgia lawmakers are advancing a bill that would require local police to take on immigration enforcement. Opponents worry it will lead to profiling. Threats, debt, and Trump's advances. Stormy Doc examines the life of Stormy Daniels. A new documentary chronicles Stormy Daniels' legal battle with former President Donald Trump and how it has changed her and her family. Famine in northern Gaza is imminent, warns the world's leading authority on hunger. The Integrated Food Security Phase Classification issued a new report that concluded that the entire population in the Gaza Strip which is more than 2 million, face serious food insecurity as war continues. Negotiators reach spending deal, but timeline is tight to avoid the shutdown. The deal between negotiators from the House and White House would fund the government until the end of the fiscal year, September 30th. Hong Kong passes a new security law that toughens punishment of dissent. Pro-Beijing lawmakers fast-track the legislation with tough punishment for acts considered external interference, insurrection, and other offenses. Whoa. Famine in Gaza is imminent, and how Louisiana's abortion ban changed maternal care. People in Gaza are suffering from catastrophic levels of hunger, according to a group of global experts, and doctors say Louisiana's abortion ban has led to big deviations in maternal care. Rents are high and housing vouchers are hard to get, so Philly is giving renters cash. The pilot program chose people on the city's long wait list for housing vouchers to test how much direct cash payments can help. HUD, is the federal housing agency, is interested in the possibility. Standard pregnancy care is now dangerously disrupted in Louisiana, report reveals. A troubling new report from Louisiana shows how the state's abortion ban from 2022 is forcing doctors to delay or withhold medical care in ways that make pregnancy more dangerous. A 2024 March Madness vocabulary, how to sound like you know what you're talking about. The NCAA basketball tournaments can be onslaught of unfamiliar names and terms enough to make any casual viewer nervous. We're here to help. New data shows it's gotten easier to vote in the U.S. since 2000. Nearly 97% of voting age U.S. citizens now live in a state with some form of early voting, according to a new report. For the 68 orphans saved from Rafah, the road to recovery is likely to be a long one. The 68 children without parental care are getting a reprieve from war, but children who experience armed conflict often face long-lasting impacts when it comes to their mental health and development. Young conservatives have grown up in Trump's Republican Party, and now it's time to vote. With nearly a decade on the national political stage, for some of the youngest eligible conservative voters this year, former President Donald Trump has been pivotal in their political upbringing. Sports Illustrated will continue its print edition under a new publisher. Minute Media took over on Monday after reaching a licensing agreement with Authentic Brands Group. With what this means for the writers and others who produce Sports Illustrated remains to be seen. United Airlines CEO tries to reassure customers that the airline is safe. In a memo to customers, CEO Scott Kirby tried to reassure travelers that safety is the airline's top priority. He said the airline was already planning an extra day of training for the pilots. Despite bans in some states, more than 1 million abortions were provided in 2023. That's the highest number in more than a decade, according to new research. Medication abortion made up a larger share of the total than in 2020. Pro-Trump attorney arrested after hearing over leaking Dominion documents. Stephanie Lambert was arrested after a hearing over possible sanctions against her for disseminating confidential emails from Dominion voting systems. RGB Awards ceremony canceled amid controversy over recipients. Rupert Murdoch, Elon Musk, and junk bond creator Michael Milken were among the recipients of the 2024 Ruth Bader Ginsburg Leadership Award. The U.S. bans most common form of asbestos after decades of pushback from industry. More than 50 other countries have already banned the substance, which has been known to lead to lung and ovarian cancer, mesothelioma, and other deadly illnesses. Supreme Court seems wary over barring government contacts with social media. Well, at issue was the sweeping Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals decision that barred government officials from having contacts with social media platforms. And finally, pregnant stingray Charlotte brings in traffic businesses to North Carolina town. Wow. Charlotte the stingray in a small North Carolina aquarium has been attracting visitors since she got pregnant without a mate. Businesses in Hendersonville are delighted by the influx. And there you have it, friends. Today's head 2024. Okay, let's go ahead and get now to the NBA and bring up the scores and ready to go once again. Hope you was watching the basketball. The playoffs are less than about, I would say, almost 2 weeks. April will probably be going into the playoffs. So the countdown is getting pretty close here. Okay, last night's games. Cavaliers over the Pacers, 108-103. Celtics beat the lowly Pistons, 119-94. It was the 76ers over the Heat, 98-91. Bulls 110, Trailblazers 107. Timberwolves 114, the Jazz 104. Knicks beat the Wizards 119-112. The Kings over the Grizzlies 121-111. And the Lakers trumped the Hawks 136-105. Tonight's games have the Hornets at the Magic at tip-off at 7 o'clock. Rockets at the Wizards at 7. Pelicans will take on the Nets at 7:30 in the Barclays Center. Mavericks at the Spurs at 8 o'clock. And the Nuggets will take on the Timberwolves at 9 o'clock. Okay, let's go to the NHL. As the playoffs are getting close, too, for the hockey teams as well. Okay, 2 games last night. The Capitals over the Flames 5-2, and the Sabres beat the Kraken 6-2. Tonight's games have the Maple Leafs at the Flyers. The face-off is at 7 o'clock. Senators at the Bruins at 7. Blue Jackets to the Red Wings. It'll be the Penguins at the Devils at 7. Jets at the Rangers. Hurricanes at the Islanders at 7:30. Avalanche at the Blues at 8 o'clock. Sharks will take on the Predators at 8. Canadians at the Oilers at 9. Wild at the Ducks at 10. The Blackhawks at the Kings at 10 o'clock. Sabres at the Canucks at 10. And the Lightning will take on the Golden Knights at 10 o'clock. All right, we're officially now counting them down. 9 days to the regular season. And don't forget to tune into the Dugout Crew on the first show at 3 o'clock on the 28th, which is basically next Thursday. Yep, so you will definitely want to tune into that first show to get all of the gang and see who the new host of the show is going to be. You never know at this given time. Spring training games yesterday, the Twins over the Red Sox 5-2. It was the Rays over the Braves 7-3. Pirates 11, Phillies 2. The Yankees take the split squad against the Phillies and go and win 4-3. Marlins over the Astros 6-5. Guardians over the White Sox 8-5. Mariners over the Rangers 9-5. Wow, that was a lot. 6-5, 8-5, 9-5. Brewers over the Angels 4-3. It was the Athletics and the Diamondbacks tied at a 3-3. The Nationals crushed the Astros 10-1, and the Giants beat the Reds 4-2. In today's spring training games, we have a final. The Cardinals over the Marlins 11-10. Red Sox over the Rays 5-2. Right now in the bottom of the 8th, the Orioles have a 10-7 lead over the Blue Jays. 4:05, the Bruins will take on the Guardians. Athletics at the Rangers. Rockets at the Mariners at 4:10. Reds at the Angels at 4:10. Guardians at the Rockets 4:10. Phillies and Tigers at 6:05 tonight. Marlins at the Astros at 6:05. Cardinals and the Mets at 6:10. Diamondbacks at the Cubs at 9:05. And finally, the Royals will take on the Giants at 10:05 tonight. Okay, now for some important information I want to pass along to you because I think it's fitting to note. First of all, I hope you like the shirt. I have not worn this shirt ever on our show before, so I'm kind of breaking in some different shirts and different colors, and hopefully you enjoy that as well. Let's see. The week of Easter, there will be no Wipe Those Tears on April 3rd. However, there will be no DMS the whole week of Easter. That's right. I have made a decision to take the Easter week off because I have to get some stuff done around this house, like spring cleaning and stuff. So I'm going to take my spring break the week of Easter. So we will not be here April 1st through April 5th. That's going to be a decision I've made. I'm also going to bring it up tonight at the meeting. So if you're listening, David, we'll be up. We'll be here next week for Holy Week. But up until that time, after we will be off for a week to spend time with our friends and family. And I also have to get some major pressure washing done to my driveway. And it's going to take me a couple days to do that. So I need that time to really go ahead and utilize it. So at that moment, I'll take the week off from DMS and we'll take a break. and enjoy time with our friends and family. And then we'll see you back here on April 8th for the next DMS after Easter week. Should be good. There'll be probably a lot to cover. I know for a fact that, the Dugout Crew will still be on, and, but Wipe Those Tears will take their week off as well on April 3rd. I've given the guys off on the 3rd. I've pretty much given my Tier Masters every holiday, whether it falls in the first of the week or the week of on holiday, pretty much off so that they can enjoy it. And if they need to go out of town, one thing we do, us hosts, is we should take care of whoever we're taking care of at that time. On Holy Saturday, there will be a Saturday night with McVeigh and Jay right before Easter. But I don't think we're going to meet up on the week of the after Easter. I don't know. We'll see. I think we'll be all right. We should be able to take it into that too as well. But like I said, I'll discuss it with Scott McVeigh, and we'll come up with a game plan so that way you can have a Saturday night with it. Or if anything, I don't think we won't have one on that Holy Saturday, because I think a lot of people are going to be at church. I think I might be going to church as well too with my mom. I'll see what she wants to do. But the important information is that Easter is coming up soon in about, coming up on 11 days, actually. That's what we're looking at. So we're going to have a lot of commercials dedicated to Easter. We're going to have a lot of Easter stories the next couple of weeks, and you'll be able to tie in everything there, and hopefully you get your Easter shopping done. And remember, of course, spring for some is coming, but I know down here in Florida, summer is already here because the weather's already warm. But although I will say this much, it was actually pretty cool this morning when I walked out of my house. It was actually 58 degrees. Brr. But then it kind of warmed up slowly. I think it got no higher than 68. So that's still pretty good as far as, for comfortable weather. But, we're probably going to be expecting our heat wave to get there once Easter Sunday rolls around. Hopefully the temperatures will warm up by you as well. And that way you'll be able to kind of start planning your spring vacations, your summer vacations, and definitely go into some pretty good rest and relaxation over the next couple of months. And I have something special, too, also to announce. A special week of DMS 3000 News will be premiering a special week where we will have guests and all good stuff reminiscing for our second anniversary, which is the week of June 5th. I'll tell you more about that as we get closer to that program. So I'm looking for some help from a lot of people to pretty much get this show set up so that way we can be on, you can be on there and join us for the celebration of a fantastic anniversary week, which we would like to do for you here on YouTube and StreamYard. Okay. All right. It's 4:19. And when we come back, we'll go ahead and start our first article of the day, which is I retired from dating at 43 and I've never been happier. Yep. We'll look at that true story when we come back with more of DMS 3000 News right after this.
Hey, careful with that fudge.
Sorry, Ernie. It's the rookie's first time covering cookies.
Do I have to use so much fudge?
We're elves. We always use lots.
Lots of rich, creamy fudge makes our good Keebler cookies taste even more uncommonly good.
Keep your eye on the cookie, kid.
Making Keebler fudge-covered cookies takes lots of fudge.
And lots of practice.
Fudge sticks, fudge stripes, fudge marshmallows, and deluxe grahams from Keebler.
This is the new taco salad from Taco Bell. The salad in a bowl. You can eat.
The freshest things from Taco Bell, served up in a plate, flour shell.
That's my bowl.
Taco salad, ooh, what a treat.
I'm gonna eat the bowl, but I'm gonna break it first.
Just made for you in a bowl you can't eat.
Oops, all gone. Guess you'll just have to try one for yourself. You know where.
Taco Bell, it's just made for you.
Sometimes you just gotta have one.
Hi, this is Skip at the drive-thru, finding out why these Crystal people just gotta have one.
They're delicious, they have a different taste, and we love to eat them.
Well, I like them. I've had them since I was a little girl. We've always eaten Crystals.
You don't have to be rich to eat here.
I kind of crave them a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And I figured this is the quickest way just to drive through.
Oh,
drive-through is my lifesaver.
Right now, Crystals are just a quarter with the 16 or more orders, so drive through and grab a bag full today.
What would you do for a Klondike bar?
Would you act like your dog?
Him? No, thanks.
For rich, creamy Klondike ice cream?
Well, maybe a pant.
Covered with a rich, chocolatey coating? No bark, no bite. Now speak, doggy.
For that chocolatey coated ice cream, loaded big and thick, no room for a stick. What would you do for a Klondike bar?
Now, can your dog act like you? Perfect.
Don Mallard, captain of the U.S. video game team.
When I'm not going for high scores in the arcades, I'm home playing games on my Atari 7800. As an expert, I like the 7800 because there are great arcade hits like Mario Brothers and Donkey Kong Jr., adventure games like Impossible Mission, sports games like Hat Trick and Real Sports Baseball, action games like Desert Falcon and Karateka, and the 7800 plays all the 2600 games. As a consumer, I like the 7800 because most games cost under $20.
The Atari 7800, the choice of the experts.
Not yet. Still not. Nope. Getting warmer. Now it's official. It's not really summer until you have your ballpark.
Only Ballpark Franks have such a big, juicy taste. They plump when you cook them.
Don't you just love summer?
Enjoy that big Ballpark taste in a fat-free Frank, too.
Okay, welcome back to DMS 3000 News. Sorry about that, folks. We have more technical difficulties that are continuing to destroy this show instead of actually helping it. So I don't know why we're continuing to do this, but if this continues, I'm not going to be doing DMS 3000 News anymore at this point, because if my computer has to continuously shut down for this reason, I don't know what else I'm going to do. And then I'm going to have a talk with my upper hand and say, I might have to give this show up to somebody else because my computer is not being able to handle this anymore. So I apologize for that. But let's go ahead and to our first article of the day, which is I retired from dating at 43 and I've never been happier. Yes, let's go ahead and look at that share screen right now. Bring it up here. And this is from Jill Waldbeiser, who is the author of this article, I guess. Looks like she's happy here in her picture. She says, "Are single women happier?" Well, as one woman discovers, being alone is definitely not the same as being lonely. On a recent bank holiday with nothing pressing to do, I baked myself a cake, 2 cakes actually, so I could decide which recipe best satisfied my chocolate craving. I iced them and for the finishing touch, added swirls of whipped cream and plump maraschino cherries dripping red. Reader, I ate both. Are single women happier? Well, that's debatable, but they're certainly better capable of having their cake and eating it too. That wasn't always the case for me. For the better part of my life, I would bake those perfect cakes and give the best slices, the ones with sweet maraschino cherries, to others. And I didn't stop there. I'd make sure everyone else had the best cuts of steak and the freshest cups of coffee. I piled seconds onto their plates, even if I hadn't gotten my fill. I could always eat yesterday's leftovers, after all. When I was married, this made me feel like a good wife and provider, and yet I also worked a demanding full-time job, did the bulk of the child care and housework, and was doting and attentive spouse in so many other ways. Let's just say I ate a lot of leftovers in that marriage. That was part of the problem. My purpose in life had become pleasing others. I didn't bother figuring out how to be happy. I found moments of joy in making my partner happier at home, and I got lost in the shuffle. Well, when I finally decided, after 16 years, to leave my people-pleasing life behind, I thought I understood what made single women happier. I had an appetite for life. I said yes to everything that crossed my path, including online dating. On my very first try, I got lucky, and what was intended as a casual fling turned into a 4-year love affair. I still gave him the biggest piece of pie, the last dinner roll, and the maraschino cherry, but this guy showed gratitude for it. And I never once questioned my lifelong habit or thought about setting boundaries. After all, doesn't selflessness sustain a relationship? Aren't you supposed to put your loved ones ahead of yourself? And doesn't that make you a good person, not to mention a desirable partner? In time, though, I had a mental shift. It was the beginning of the end. I won't say our relationship fell apart over an ice cream sundae, but it certainly played a role. We'd gone out for a treat and agreed to share. I was craving a massive brownie sundae, but when it came time to order, he wanted toppings. I didn't, but I acquiesced until he said pineapple. I thought he was joking, but when he stuck with it, I gave it to him straight. We were sharing, and I couldn't stomach a sundae smothered in pineapple. He ordered it anyway, and I had to sit silently and watch him eat that monstrosity by himself. The cherry on the top, I paid as usual. We did not last long after that. In the aftermath, I didn't even consider dating again. The idea devastated me. I loved the story that he was my one and only swipe right almost as much as I loved him. But somehow dating found me again. I met someone, we chatted, and a friendship grew. It was only a casual thing, but it was a nice distraction as I continued to heal. And I liked having someone to care for again, to cook for again. What I didn't like was getting a call from the wife he had told me he was divorcing, or hearing that, no, they weren't splitting up. They just bought a new house together. I'm not overly picky when it comes to dating, but the guy's single status, yeah, that's non-negotiable. Any reasonable person would have called it quits at that point, and I did. I didn't just give up on that 6-month relationship, but on dating in general. Clearly, I wasn't cut out for it. If I wasn't attracting losers, I was at least failing to discern them in the wild. And either way, it wasn't a test I could stand to fail again. The thing I didn't realize when I retired from dating, though, was how much happier it would make me. Reading through profiles and trying to engage men who are still single but open to kids at age 45 and older took time and patience that I just did not have. And more important, it wasn't any fun. I was wasting time on dating. The way I saw it, my energy was better spent on things with a higher rate of return. So I took on more assignments at work, spent more time making my kid pancakes, the shapes and colors of his favorite cartoon characters, booked travel, and cultivated a few new hobbies, all the cliche post-breakup stuff that it's supposed to make newly single women happier. There's a reason it's a cliche, though. It works. Coming of age again. With my new mindset, I had something of a second coming of age. I wasn't constantly trying to be happy or successful at work. I was happy, successful, and fulfilled. At the end of that awful, awful year, I sat down at my computer to figure out my taxes and stared in awe at the number at the bottom of my spreadsheet. I couldn't believe I had the highest earning year of my life, especially when I spent so much of it grappling with depression and loneliness. I'd also won an award for my work, with a medal and everything. I completed my first solo home renovation project, painting and redecorating the bathroom and even wiring a new light fixture. I pulled off a homemade escape from room birthday party for my son. When I flipped through my phone's camera roll, I can't believe all the new things I've tried and adventures I've been on, all totally alone. I visited a wolf sanctuary, took a class at a circus school, dove off a diving board for the first time ever. I commissioned art for myself, started learning sign language, traveled to both Portland's, that's Maine and Oregon, hiked vertical cliffs in the Arizona heat, and sailed the Caribbean. I read books, actual novels, not just self-help books, spent time with friends and hiked hundreds of miles with my dog through newly discovered trails. I reaped the many benefits of volunteering by donating blood, time, and money to causes I believed in, and I went to bed every night feeling a deep sense of calm satisfaction in my soul. Well, slowly my natural positive attitude and faith in humanity returned. Best of all, I regained faith in myself. While I absolutely look forward to becoming a cat lady someday, I don't hate relationships or people who are happy in them, and I still think romantic love is something to aspire to. Indeed, studies show a link between marriage and happiness. Still, there's a trick to making single women happier, and it has to do with community. When researchers looked at the happiness levels of married and unmarried people, they found that unmarried folks were more likely to socialize with others, and that socialization was strongly connected to happiness. What I've come to realize is that I don't need a romantic relationship to avoid loneliness or to feel fulfilled. I am very content. For the first time in my life, I treat myself the way I've always treated others. I put myself first, buy myself the finer things, and always save the best piece of cake for myself. There you go. Jill Wildbeiser. She's a journalist and winner of National Magazine Award for work at Women's Health. She has more than 20 years of experience covering home, cleaning, and lifestyle topics, and her work has appeared in Runner's World, The New York Times, HuffPost, CNN, Oprah Daily, Eating Well, and AARP, and has been recognized by the Digital Health Awards and the Best of Edible Communities. She likes to share her culinary explorations and food styling and photography skills on Instagram. She also volunteers with the Bucks County Food Alliance and the American Red Cross and is a passionate advocate for disability rights. All right, we'll be back with the next article. When we come back, we'll be looking at the doctor who saved a man's life when he was born early. Years later, he returned the favor. We'll be back with more DMS 3000 news. And if we have technical difficulties, that's the end of our show. We'll be right back.
Nice steaks, Uncle Charlie.
Nice. They're beautiful, thick, tender, fresh, and broiled to perfection. And now for dinner, Monday through Friday, it's all you can eat of Beefsteak Charlie's famous sirloin steak, plus unlimited shrimp and salad, a baked potato, and beer, wine, or sangria with dinner, all for just $11.99. All the steak you want, you've got.
Uncle Charlie, how do you do it?
Chuck, I had to cut your salary. At Beefsteak Charlie's, we won't stop giving until you say uncle.
This man is responsible for the most successful Oriental restaurants in America. For 20 years, if you wanted great Oriental food, you'd go to him.
Now, I'll come to you.
With 4 more Benihana frozen Oriental restaurant classics. Shrimp and lobster sauce, Szechuan beef, roast pork lo mein, roast pork with Chinese vegetables. We've taken your favorite Oriental restaurant food and put it where it belongs, at home.
You got place or mine? It's up to you.
Benihana. We either make them great or we don't make them at all.
Hi, I'm Bob Barker, and this is my friend Benny. Now, we have a little favor to ask of you. Before you buy any cosmetics, personal care, or household products, please be sure that it has not been tested on animals. Every year, millions of animals have everything from floor cleaner to shampoo dripped into their eyes and poured down their throats in cruel, unnecessary experiments. The animals suffer intensely. Some even go blind. The price is never right. on products tested on animals. Please visit PETA.org for a list of cruelty-free companies. Benny here, and I will sure thank you.
It's that time of year again, and Cadbury has hatched up milk chocolate mini eggs for Easter, made with Cadbury's dairy milk chocolate. Inside the crisp sugar shell is a chunk of thick and creamy Cadbury's dairy milk chocolate. That's why mini eggs give you a chocolate experience that is so special. Although Easter isn't here yet, Cadbury's mini eggs are, so discover for yourself which comes first, the bunnies or the eggs.
It's the same old way. Mashed potatoes, you had that yesterday. For a side dish, made to please. You only want to be the shells and cheese. It's not the same old side. It's the creamy one. You gotta try.
The side dish steals the show when it's creamy Velveeta shells and cheese.
It's not the same. It's not the same old side.
Here comes chili, Hormel, the good time chili. Clap hands for Hormel chili now. Clap hands for Hormel flavor, great taste you're bound to favor. Hormel's the good time chili now. Oh, yeah. Hormel's the good time chili now.
All right, welcome back to DMS 3000 News, episode 141. We got through that commercial block in one piece without any problems. But I think what's going to happen is that David might have to make the commercials for my for the show here permanently, 5 days for it. Well, of course, for Wednesdays, but for that matter, he might have to come up with the commercials for Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I'll explain a little bit about that later on. I'll have to have a talk with him after the show. Okay, anyways, let's go ahead and get to the next story, which is a doctor saved this man's life when he was born early. Years later, he returned the favor. All right, let's take a look at that article right now and pull it up here. And then Lisa Miller, this one was back in 2016. This article goes back 8 years. But I guess it's one of those great true stories that really needs some attention to detail with. So here we go. It was 5:45 a.m. in March of 2011. As a pediatrician, Michael Shannon, MD, drove along California's Pacific Coast Highway toward the beach. He could smell the sea. He was taking a route he knew well to meet a friend for their regular Tuesday walk. As he headed toward Dana Point Harbor, a blanket of white suddenly interrupted his vision. A semi-truck had pulled onto the road in front of him. The physician had no time to react. I probably said a few explicitives in my mind, he recalls. I remember the wham and the sound of breaking glass, and then everything stopped. I was sitting still. Shannon remembered consciousness during the collision, remained conscious during the collision. In the quiet afterward, his first thought was that he was alive. His second thought was that he had to get out fast. He sensed something burning. His legs and feet, wedged beneath the crumpled dashboard, felt hot, but he was pinned. Help arrived almost instantly. A unit from the Orange County Fire Department was on the scene in less than 2 minutes. 4 men work on engine 29. 2 are paramedics, and that morning they were returning to their firehouse when they got the call. The guys were exhausted from working all night, but the timing was better than good. They were already in the truck and ready to go. Arriving at the scene, paramedic Chris Trokey could immediately see how urgent it was. At 30, Trokey had been on the job for 8 years, and this accident was a 9 out of 10 in severity. The whole front end of the SUV was tucked under the body of the semi. He could see that the engine was smoldering. Now, only a small red flame like a campfire, but he knew it could explode within minutes. The man inside the vehicle appeared remarkably calm. He wasn't freaking out. He wasn't yelling, recalls Trokey. He was saying, "Get me out of here." Meanwhile, Shannon's lower extremities were getting hotter. He could feel the nylon mesh of his running shoes melting onto his toes. The crew acted fast. Someone handed me a fire extinguisher through the window, And I think I used another expletive and said, "I need a hose," Shannon says. He was given a fire hose and used it to put out the flames inside the vehicle. The firemen doused the engine fire and called for backup. They needed stronger tools to pry open the SUV, and as they waited, Trokey phoned Mission Hospital in Laguna Beach to alert the medical trauma team. After 20 minutes, with a second crew's help, the Chevy Suburban was opened with the jaws of life, and Trokey put the man on a backboard and a gurney within seconds. As he sat with him in the back of the ambulance with the siren blaring, Trokey began to meditate on the crash victim's name, Michael Shannon. The paramedic wondered, could this be the same man who saved his own life 30 years ago? When he was a preemie and arrived at the very same ER they were headed to with panicked parents and a perilously high temperature. The doctor who slept by Trokey's side in the hospital until he was well enough to go home. As Trokey sat with Shannon, the feeling of recognition grew stronger. But he didn't say anything, not then. I wanted to focus on what was going on. In June of '86, Chris Trokey entered the world 10 weeks early. His father, Mike, likes to joke that his son loves ambulances because he was almost born in one. Mike and his wife, Dee, went to Mission Hospital after her water broke. There, they were rushed by ambulance to the hospital at the University of California, Irvine, 25 miles away. UCI had the region's only neonatal intensive care unit. Their baby, the Trokeys were informed, had a 50-50 chance of survival. Weighing 3 pounds, 2 ounces at birth, the baby could fit in the palm of Mike's hand. But Chris was tough, breathing on his own within hours. And while he was in the NICU, his parents commuted between Irvine and their home in Dana Point. During those anxious first weeks, Mike and Dee searched for a local pediatrician who was skilled enough to cope with the health problems that premature babies often face. Mike worked as an educator in the Saddleback Valley School District, coordinating programs. As he looked through the student files, he noticed one name again and again, Dr. Michael Shannon. When the Trokeys went for a meeting, they liked Shannon right away, from his capable manner to his shoulder-length hair, denim shirt, and turquoise belt buckle. He was the type of guy you could talk to as if he was your brother, Dee remembers, but you had confidence that he could do anything. After 7 weeks, Chris was discharged, and his parents drove to Shannon's office so he could check the baby out. Chris was fine. However, within 2 weeks, he spiked what Shannon coolly calls a pretty good-sized fever, dangerous for a newborn, but exponentially more so for a preemie. The Trokeys were in touch with Shannon as the fever soared, and the doctor soon suggested the family meet him at Mission Hospital. Dee was a wreck. Having already faced the possibility that her newborn might not survive, and then living apart from him for nearly 2 months, a life-threatening fever felt like the last straw. At the hospital, Shannon was waiting for the Trokeys. Utterly calm, he took the entire family into his care. There was no infant ICU at Mission at the time, so pediatricians took care of their own intensive problems, says Shannon. He took Chris's blood and sent it to the lab and did a spinal tap to rule out meningitis. Then he put the infant on an IV antibiotic drip and had the parents go home to sleep. Shannon would watch over their son, he told them. The pediatrician stayed with Chris for 2 nights, and on the 3rd day, the boy went home. Chris grew up with the family legend of the time that Shannon slept in the hospital with him until he was safe. His parents told the story again and again as the happiest resolution to the most desperate period of their lives. Chris continued to be Shannon's patient until he was in his teens. After the car wreck, in an echo of what had happened 30 years before, Chris Trokey stayed by Shannon's side in the trauma room for a few minutes. I asked, "Do you remember me at all? You stayed with me when I was really little," says Trokey. Shannon had suffered a perforated small intestine. He had 2nd and 3rd degree burns on his feet, and part of a toe had to be amputated. Shards of glass were embedded in his skin. Shannon recognized Chris's name at once. Although he has treated more children than he can remember, it's the ones who need him most who stick. Yet, if they passed each other on the street, neither man would have recognized the other. At 72, Shannon had cut his hair short, and at 6 feet, 3 inches tall and 195 pounds, Chris looked nothing like the fragile baby he had once been. The day after Shannon's surgery, Trokey and the crew from Engine 29 went to visit Shannon in the ICU. This was unusual. As firefighters and paramedics, they save lives as a matter of course. But this case was different because it was such a close call. I don't know if he knows how lucky he was, says Trokey, and such a coincidence. Both men still marvel at the connection. Neither Shannon nor Trokey is a churchgoer, but each says this feeling of having someone into your life at a critical time and watch over you until you are well, of giving a gift without expectations and then getting it back when you need it most, has given him faith in a higher power. Shannon and Trokey are busy people. Shannon sees patients 4 days a week, and Trokey works 3 24-hour shifts a week. But every year on the anniversary of the car accident, the two men meet for a meal. And in 2015, Trokey himself became the father of a baby boy. His name is Porter, and he has had no major health problems so far. Dr. Michael Shannon is his pediatrician. Fantastic story. Wow, nicely done. A great story indeed, and one that is true to its powers. So always remember that if you're ever stuck in a situation, someone might come from your past, might come back to help you later on. Well, all right. Up next on the program, we'll look at this passenger got an emergency flying lesson after his pilot passed out at 10,000 feet. We'll be back with more DMS 3000 news right after this.
You're looking at a very unusual kind of egg from Cadbury that's only around till Easter. Its shell is pure, rich Cadbury milk chocolate. But look, inside sits a sweet, creamy yellow yolk surrounded by delicious white filling, cream eggs from Cadbury. Why, they're the best thing to come along since the Easter Bunny. And when he's gone, they're gone.
In the potato news, Princess Fry denies rumors she's expecting a royal sprout. The Washington Potato Skins won the championship, but the hottest news is Hot Potato. Hot Potato makes his own music. In this game, you gotta keep him moving, because if you got him when the music stops, you're starting to get hot. And when you get hot, you're not. Hot Potato is one cool spud. That's it from your commentator.
Hot Potato, the musical potato action game. New from Parker Brothers.
This is new improved Jell-O chocolate pudding. They say it's even smoother than good old Jell-O chocolate pudding, so let's give it the old smoothometer test. That's right. It's so much smoother, I think our smoothometers are going crazy.
Introducing new improved Jell-O brand chocolate pudding. It's so much smoother, you'll love it even more.
Smoother, right, gang? I think the smoothometers are stuck.
Boy, Woody, having breakfast on the train is great.
And it's greater when breakfast is Kellogg's Sugar Pop. Those crispy, crunchy pops of golden corn.
The bridge is out. We may not stop in time.
Oh, I better get going.
Woody, you sure saved the train.
And I saved Kellogg's Sugar Pop, too.
Salt. It has to be America's favorite flavoring. But what about the people who want to cut down on salt? Who has the willpower to face bland, flavorless meals? No one. That's why there's new Morton Light Salt. It has only half the sodium and that same good Morton salt flavor. So the whole family can use it, just like regular table salt. New Morton Light Salt, the easy way to cut down on salt.
Have you heard?
Honey, where's my parquet?
Spread the word.
Right in front of you.
The parquet taste you love.
Parquet?
Comes in a great big tub. Okay, parquet.
Okay. When it comes to spreads, for no cholesterol and the buttery taste of Parquet, it's Parquet Spread.
Hey, hey, okay, parquet.
Okay.
Okay, welcome back to DMS 3000 News. It's episode number 141, March 19th here, and getting close to Easter Sunday, and of course to the regular season of Major League Baseball 2024. Should be fun and interesting. Hope you're going to have a time with us here on the David 3000 Network, as every Friday night from 7 to 10, starting April 5th, I will be doing the David 3000 Play-by-Play Friday. So check that out as well. As Friday nights, you will see either a Mets game or an Orioles game, one of the two, depending on where the Mets are and where the Orioles are as far as their location. If they're playing home, it's going to be the Mets. If it's the Orioles, it's usually if the Mets are away in a West Coast town and their game is at 10 o'clock. Whatever the case, it's mostly going to be the Mets, but the Orioles will be the backup team just in case. Okay, now let's get to our third article today. This passenger got an emergency flying lesson after his pilot passed out at 10,000 feet. Wow. Robert Kiner is the author of this article. And let's take a look and see what we have here. The plane is careening toward the sea without a pilot. Air traffic controls mission: teach a passenger to landing a plane. Wow. The selfie Darren Harrison has just taken shows him dressed casually in white shorts and a t-shirt with his bare feet propped up on a plush gray leather seat. He is the lone passenger in the room 6-seat cabin of a single-engine Cessna 208 turboprop, some 12,000 feet above the Atlantic Sea off the coast of Florida. He sends the photo to his wife, Brittany Harrison, who is 6 months pregnant with their first child. Harrison, a 39-year-old flooring sales executive, is returning to his home in Lakeland, Florida, after taking part in an offshore deep-sea fishing tournament in Marsh Harbor, Bahamas. It's around noon. The early May weather is perfect, and the views, brilliant blue skies and crystalline ocean below, are drop-dead beautiful. The plane is being flown by Ken Allen, a 64-year-old veteran pilot. To Allen's right is the co-pilot's seat. Is his friend Russ Frank, 70 years of age. Frank's no pilot, but he does enjoy going along for the ride. Around 45 minutes into their scheduled 75-minute flight to Treasure Coast International Airport in Fort Pierce, Florida, air traffic controllers in Miami clear Allen to begin his approach to Fort Pierce, which is now about 70 miles to the west. They instruct him to descend to 10,000 feet. November 333, Lima Delta Roger, Miami Center, says Allen, using the plane's call sign. A few minutes later, as Allen continues his descent, the right side of his head starts pounding. Boom, boom, boom. Every time his heart beats, Allen feels as if his head is being hit with a hammer. What the heck? Allen wonders as he winces in pain. Out of his right eye, he begins seeing bright blue lights flashing. The plane is now careening toward the sea without a pilot. Guys, I don't feel good, he tells Harrison and Frank. The pain is severe. The pounding intensifies. His voice shaking, he says, everything is fuzzy. It's one of the scariest possible moments as a pilot. Harrison answers immediately, what does that mean? I don't know. My head is killing me. I don't. Allen suddenly stops talking and Harrison watches him slump back in his seat. The plane is now careening toward the sea without a pilot. Whew. Harrison manages to undo his seatbelt and, fighting G-forces that want to pin him back to his seat, stumbles a few feet to Allen. He and Frank try to rouse Allen. No response. The pilot is unconscious, and the plane is out of control, plummeting in a deep, dizzying 340-mile-per-hour dive to the ocean below. Instead of blue sky, the two men see white caps on waves below that are getting bigger and bigger as the plane continues to drop to 9,000, then 8,000, then 7,000 feet. The Cessna Caravan's automatic emergency alarms are wailing. Although he's never taken a flying lesson, Harrison has flown on enough small planes and observed enough pilots to know that he has to pull back on the plane's yoke to bring the plane's nose up. But he has to do it slowly. It's an unfortunate airplane feature that if you pull the yoke too quickly, the motor could stall or the wings could be ripped off. Squatting behind Allen's seat, he reaches over the unconscious pilot and grabs the yoke while Frank grabs the co-pilot's yoke. As the plane falls, both Harrison and Frank struggle to level off the plane, which has dropped nearly 4,000 feet in 30 seconds. Soon, the plane's nose levels off and turns up before climbing back to 9,000 feet. Can you hold this steady? Harrison asks Frank while holding the co-pilot's yoke. Frank helps Harrison unbuckle Allen's seatbelt and Harrison pulls him off the seat and gently lays the unconscious pilot on the floor of the cabin. Harrison quickly climbs into the pilot's seat and takes stock of the situation. First and foremost, they are alive, but they are a long way from home, and neither man has ever flown a plane before. Ooh. Air traffic controller Chip Flores has been on duty in the control tower at Fort Pierce's Treasure Coast International Airport since 7 a.m. because the winds have recently picked up. Many of the student pilots who would normally be flying have been grounded, and Flores is thankful that for the low traffic. The quiet is interrupted when Flores gets a call on his headset. It's Harrison. Traffic, N333 Lima Delta. Come in, he says, using the pilot's call sign the way he'd heard Alan say it. Flores responds, Caravan 333 Lima Delta, Fort Pierce Tower. I've got a serious situation here, says Harrison. My pilot has gone incoherent. I have no idea how to fly the plane. Flores jumps from his seat and hits a button on his console that broadcasts the radio transmission through the control tower's loudspeakers. Alerted to an emergency, everyone in the tower drops what they're doing and listens to the call. Air traffic control's mission, teach a passenger to land a plane. Flores asks Harrison, what's your position? I have no idea. I see the coast of Florida in front of me, and I have no idea. Flores takes a deep breath. What he doesn't know is that somehow the Cessna's display screens have gone blank. Harrison must have hit a switch that turned them off when he tugged Alan from his seat. The only instruments that are still operational are the altimeter and basic compass and the altitude indicator, which shows whether the plane is level. What Flores does know is that he may lose radio contact with Harrison at any minute because the plane is flying south and will soon be beyond the airport's radio transmission limits. Flores is also concerned about those first words Harrison said. I have no idea how to fly the plane. Harrison, Flores decides, needs a quick flying lesson. He radios Harrison and calmly tells him, try to hold the wings level and see if you can start descending for me. Push forward on the controls and descend at a very slow rate. Flores and the entire tower team await Harrison's response. Yeah, we are descending right now at 550 feet a minute. We're heading. What heading do I need to be at? Flores never gets the chance to tell him. He's lost contact with the plane as it flies out of the airport's radio transmission zone. Flores radios Harrison. This is Fort Pierce Tower. Are you on the frequency? No answer. Inside November 333 Lima Delta, Harrison and Frank realize they have lost contact with the tower. Flores' voice is replaced by static, then nothing. Once again, Harrison and Frank are on their own. And while Harrison holds the plane steady, Frank tries to figure out where they are and if they're even flying in the right direction. Frank had ceded control of the plane to the younger Harrison under the mistaken belief that he may have had some flight simulator experience because he seemed so focused. Too steep a turn could cause the plane to spiral to the ground. Frank peers out his window and says, look, there's the coast over there. He checks his compass to double-check his bearings. We need to go west to get to the airport. Harrison nods and makes a gradual turn toward the coast. Frank instinctively reaches down to where Ken Allen is lying on the floor and taps his feet. The stricken pilot moves ever so slightly, and Frank whispers, hang in there, Ken. Hang in there, my friend. Well, as the planes fly into Palm Beach International Airspace, air traffic controllers there take over from Flores. Their main mission, find someone to teach a passenger who has never flown before how to land a plane. Greg Battani, air traffic control specialist at the Palm Beach Airport, pages Robert Morgan, who is sitting outside and reading a book on his break. Morgan, an experienced air traffic controller and flight instructor, hears the page. Morgan, come to the radar room immediately. He slips on his shoes and rushes inside. The airport's operations manager, Mark Civiglia, meets him at the door and quickly briefs him. We have passengers flying a plane, a Cessna 208. The pilot is unconscious. Can you help land this plane? Morgan's eyes widen and he thinks, is this really happening? This sounds like a movie. Morgan sits down at a radar scope in the darkened radar room and thinks, what am I going to tell this guy? Gathering his nerves, he radios Harrison, who is now about 20 miles to the south and flying west toward the Florida coastline. This is 322 Palm Beach approach. What are we going to do is get you to Boca Raton Airport. What we are going to do is get you to Boca Raton. Harrison responds, I am not a pilot. My screens are black. No problem. I want you to make a shallow turn to the north and hold steady at 3,000 feet. Morgan and the other controllers follow the Cessna on their radar screens as it turns slightly to the north, on a heading for the airport at Boca Raton. Morgan radios Harrison, that's great. You look good. Then, because he knows it's important to keep in radio contact with a trainee pilot, he adds reassuringly, don't worry, I'm here for you. Standard practice in an aviation emergency is to get the plane on the ground as soon as possible. In this case, that would mean landing at Boca Raton Airport. But Boca Raton is a congested area, and the airport has only one runway. So Morgan decides to reroute Harrison farther north to the larger Palm Beach International Airport with its 3 massive 10,000-foot-long runways and a host of emergency services. Maintain your height at 3,000 and start a shallow turn to the right. Shallow turns are key. Too steep a turn by an untrained flyer could cause the plane to spiral to the ground. As soon as Morgan radios the change, the Palm Beach International Airport staffers swing into action. Air traffic controllers man the radios, stop all departures at the busy airport, and place incoming flights into holding patterns. Emergency responders are ordered into positions along the runway, and all vehicles and planes are moved away from the airport's 3 runways. Harrison and Frank are glued to their headsets, listening to Morgan's instructions. Frank scans the ground for familiar landmarks. He sees the I-95 freeway and nudges Harrison. They follow it north to Palm Beach International Airport. And as they do so, Harrison practices controlling the Cessna's altitude, pushing the yoke forward to descend a bit and pulling it back to go up again. He also makes some small turns to the right and then to the left. The plane is now about 6 miles south of the Palm Beach Airport. You should see the airport straight ahead, Morgan tells Harrison. I want you to start descending to 2,000 feet. As Harrison descends, Morgan grows concerned that Harrison is still flying too fast for a safe landing. He's also worried about 28-mile-an-hour crosswinds swirling around the runway, which can easily force a small plane off course on landing. Morgan tells him to make a slight turn to the west. We're going to bring you out to the west and give you more time to get lower and perfectly lined up with the runway, he says. Harrison follows each of Morgan's instructions and is now turning the plane back to the airport to make his approach to the massive runway 10L. Let's slow you down, says Morgan. See that black throttle control in front of you? Pull that back a little bit. Keep your speed above 110 knots. Are you still there? Torturous silence flows as the controllers stare at blank radar screens. Harrison throttles back and lines up the runway, which is 3 miles away. The radar room is quiet. Everyone's eyes are glued to the radar screens, watching this final approach. Your speed looks fine, Morgan tells Harrison. As you get closer, the runway will get wider, and once it gets really wide, I want you to pull the power back to you and also pull back on the controls. Hey, I don't know how to use the brakes. What do I do when I land? When you get to the ground, just put your feet on top of the pedals and apply a bit of pressure, Morgan adds quickly. Gentle. Be very gentle when you press on the pedals. What he doesn't mention is that pulling too much pressure on the brakes too early can blow a tire, causing a pilot to lose control of the plane, possibly crashing on the runway. As the Cessna nears the airport, Morgan reads out the plane's altitude to Harrison. 600 feet, 500 feet, 400 feet. You're doing great. Harrison, now 1 mile from landing, descends to 300 feet and is on target to land on runway 10L. The airport's radar cannot pick up planes under 300 feet, and November 333 Lima Delta disappears from Morgan's screen. Are you still there? Morgan shouts. 10 seconds of torturous silence follow. Morgan swallows deeply as he and the other controllers in the blacked out radar room stare at the blank radar screens. 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5, 6, nothing. 7 seconds, 8, 9. Then the room's loudspeaker crackles to life. It's Harrison. I'm on the ground. How do I stop this thing? Morgan hits the radio call button. Use the toe brakes gently. Harrison, still barefoot, presses the tops of the pedals gently and brings the plane to a stop smack dab in the middle of the runway, 25 minutes after taking the controls. The radar room erupts in cheers. Exhausted but flushed with adrenaline, Morgan stands and blinks back tears. Harrison feeling comfortable at the plane's controls. Radios Morgan, hey, do you want me to take this to taxi this off the runway? Morgan chuckles. Amazing, he says to himself. That guy is amazing. Editor's note. Ambulances rushed Ken Allen to the nearby Palm Beach Gardens Medical Center, where he was diagnosed with an aortic dissection, a tear in the inner layer of the aorta that is often fatal. Doctors operated immediately, and he is expected to make a full recovery. Next, learn the reasons behind airplane safety rules and why some airplane seats face backwards. There you have it, friends. That interesting and very dramatic story, but one that really, wow, really gets the juices flowing. We're going to take a break and come back with our motivation of the day and, of course, what holiday is today right after this. Important messages from, of course, our word from our sponsor.
Hey, I got second. No, man, you play right. Keep right.
Can't be your best.
You can't be your best if you don't eat a good breakfast with foods like fruit and cereal, juice, toasted milk.
I could have played second.
Can't be your best. You can't be your best if you don't eat a good breakfast.
Kibbles and bits, kibbles and bits. I'm gonna get me some kibbles and bits, kibbles and bits, kibbles and bits. I'm gonna get me some kibbles and bits.
Kennel Ration introduces Kibbles and Bits, a brand new idea. It's 2 new dog foods in one. Kibbles, a new crunchy, meaty tasting dry, and Bits, a new chewy burger-style food. He'll crunch it, chomp it, absolutely devour it. Kibbles and Bits, 2 great new dog foods in one.
Kibbles and bits, kibbles and bits. I'm gonna get me more kibbles and bits.
Hello, I'm Orville Redenbacher. What does this budget-minded family recommend for a delicious economical snack? Chips? Pretzels?
No, Orville's Gourmet Popping Corn.
Right. My corn pop's bigger and fluffier than regular popcorns, with hardly any unpopped kernels.
It's delicious.
And you can pop all of this for about the same price as these 2 bags of chips. That fits our budget. Serve my gourmet popping corn. It's the best, or I'm not smart. No, Orville Redenbacher.
Bet you goofy-looking fellas would like to try some of my new Sweet Fire Chicken from Panda Express with its delicious sweet and fiery sauce. But it wasn't made for gentle giants.
You mess with the pandas, we bust your chopsticks.
New Sweet Fire Chicken Breast. Crispy all-white meat, wok-tossed in a sweet and fiery sauce. It's an exotic fusion of flavors, only at Panda Express.
So if the tires are ready to go, Tire Kingdom is the place to know. With more brands, types, and sizes, we got the best selection. For the tires you need, just come in our direction. The lowest prices, best selection, faster service you need. Come to Tire Kingdom, but don't use speed.
Tire Kingdom is hot, hot, hot. With hot prices. Tropicana, so fresh, it'll fool ya. Tastes like you picked it, fresh off the tree. Tropicana, so fresh, it'll fool ya. Tastes like you picked it, fresh off the tree.
At Tropicana, we pick 'em and squeeze 'em fast. And that's the simple secret to Tropicana's fresh taste.
Tropicana, so fresh, it'll fool ya. Tastes like you picked it, fresh off the tree.
All right, welcome back to DMS 3000 News. Episode 141 is going to be coming to the conclusion of today's show. Sorry about the technical difficulty there, but I think I'll work it out with David after the program to see what we can do as far as the commercials are concerned here. Maybe I'll do something like get the commercials myself, send them off to David. He'll put the blocks together and then send them back to me. Or he can just load them in that way. Whatever the case, I think we'll still have commercials here, but some good ones, kind of a mix of them, all of that. If you'd like to see a specific commercial, a retro commercial that we have not aired yet on the program, please let us know, and we will definitely have some fantastic commercials as long as they're clean and nothing that promotes anything that would be take offense to anybody as far as that. The commercials usually are between 30 seconds and a minute long, and do give us some pretty good ones to put up there that we have not offered yet. Also, too, if we're around any kind of holidays like Easter right now, this would be a perfect time to put in some bunny commercials, some chickens, or some other stuff that is tied into spring. Okay? But right now, of course, we're going to look at the holiday for today, which is National Poultry Day. Oh, boy. You'll like this one, folks. Let's take a look and see. We suspected foul play when we first discovered March 19th is an annual National Poultry Day when we celebrate our national love affair with poultry. We scrambled to figure out how to celebrate poultry without bias because we are biased. Chickens rule the roost when it comes to poultry. We are just going to have to wing this one. Chicken is the most widely consumed meat in America, with each of us estimated to eat a clucking 101 pounds per year. Now, chicken has become our favorite protein because it is affordable, should we say cheaper, readily available, easy to cook, and versatile. But chickens were not always prized for how well they pair with an endless variety of seasonings, flavors, and cooking methods. The word poultry is derived from the Latin word pulus, which means small animal. Today, we use the word poultry to describe domesticated birds kept for meat, eggs, and possibly feathers. But the first fowls, intentionally raised by humans, are believed to have been kept for their entertainment value, not for their spicy wings. Archaeological evidence points to Southeast Asia and China as the first cultures to breed chickens for the sport of cockfighting as early as 10,000 years ago. Artistic depictions of roosters engaged in combat are found throughout the ruins of many ancient cultures. Until recently, the earliest evidence of large-scale chicken eating was in 1st century BC Europe, but researchers have unearthed what may be evidence of chickens being domesticated for food at least 100 years earlier in an ancient Israeli city. We may never know when or how someone first tasted chicken roasted over a fire, but obviously that first barbecue chicken was not the last. Outside the fighting rings and amphitheaters of ancient Rome, Greece, China, and Asia, chickens have held status as divinity in human societies for millennia. Chickens have been worshipped in many parts of the world because of their fighting prowess and are still considered to hold magical powers of divination in remote cultures. Although some people around the world still engage in cockfighting legally and illegally, the world's oldest continual sport has been illegal in all 50 of the United States since 2008. That makes us feel good because think cockfighting is inhumane, plus our fine feathered friend, the chicken, is now a superstar in the scientific arena. The chicken was the first domesticated animal and first bird to have its genome completely mapped by geneticists in 2004. It turns out that the chicken is the first descendant of dinosaurs. Who knew? We wonder if a cockfight between two prehistoric Roostosaurus rex would have been considered foul play or pure poultry in motion. We are just glad modern chickens are pulus, small animals. On National Poultry Day, we celebrate chickens and other poultry not just for their culinary value, but for their other lesser-known contribution to mankind as pets. Now, chickens make wonderful pets, whether common laying hens or exotic heritage breeds that are as colorful as tropical fish and cost as much as $399 for a single day-old chick. Chickens make good mousers, some say better than cats, and will keep your vegetable garden fertilized and insect-free. We realize that by winging it, we managed to duck the fact that poultry is more than just chickens. We will give it another crack and try harder next year to include other fowl in a tribute on National Poultry Day. So it starts in the 1800s, goes to 1923 to 1928, and to 1992. There's your timeline, folks. And now, how to celebrate it? Well, pheasant, duck, quail, goose, and game hens are all poultry, not often found on American dinner plates, but popular in other cultures. If these are too exotic for your taste, at least treat your palate to a capon. A capon is a rooster that is castrated before sexual maturity. The lack of testosterone on a special diet produces exceptionally tender, juicy, and flavorful meat that is superb compared to regular hens. Capons were considered a luxury and the poultry of choice for holiday feasting among wealthy families during the early 19th century. Capons are not easy to find these days, but once you taste this bird, you will never again say anything else tastes like chicken. If you are undecided which poultry to serve for dinner on National Poultry Day, go with a turducken. Now, turducken is a deboned chicken stuffed into a deboned duck that is stuffed into a deboned turkey and then roasted for pretty much a full day. The famous Cajun chef Paul Prudhomme trademarked the name turducken in 1986, although the practice of engastration, the cooking term for stuffing one animal with another, dates back to at least the Middle Ages. And if you do not have your own backyard flock of laying hens, take a drive outside the city limits to a local co-op or family farm and purchase a dozen farm fresh eggs. And once you taste the difference between freshly laid eggs and supermarket eggs, you'll never want to buy store-bought again. 5 ways poultry feathers have been recycled. Well, before modern pens were invented, feather quills were trimmed at a slant with a razor and dipped in ink for use as writing instruments. Bird feathers are very flammable when dry and can be used as tinder to get a campfire going quickly with just a small spark. The decorative plumage of birds has been used by fly fishermen and women for years to tie the perfect lure for landing prize trophy fish like mackerel, bass, and trout. Goose down is soft, fluffy, and warm, and has become the most desirable stuffing for extremely comfortable and expensive pillows and comforters. And since 1993, feathers have been used to make exquisite decorative papers. Why we love National Poultry Day. Well, if you're not a meat eater, the next best thing about chickens is they make surprisingly good pets. Chickens are social creatures that love to strut around to see what the rest of the flock is up to. They enjoy being held and can even be taught a few tricks, provided there is a delicious mealworm reward involved. Now, chickens are relatively inexpensive and easy to care for compared to other domestic pets, but need at least 2 or 3 other birds around to be well adjusted. If your community does not discriminate against poultry as pets and you have room for a spacious coop, laying hens will pay for their upkeep in daily fresh eggs. And hens take special note of the rooster with a colorful, nice-looking, healthy comb strutting his stuff around the barnyard. A healthy crown and wattle are indeed very good for the rooster looking to score in the barnyard. A stunning comb and wattle are good for us too because chicken combs, especially rooster combs, are an excellent source of hyaluronic acid, or HA, a naturally occurring body fluid that lubricates and cushions bone joints and plumps up skin cells. Now, HA has been used for decades to relieve arthritis, joint pain, and stimulate healing of athletic injuries. HA has been injected into the knees of professional and collegiate athletes and racehorses for years as a biolubricant that allows bones to move easier. Hyaluronic acid can also be taken orally as a supplement and is a sought-after ingredient in top-shelf cosmetics, and natural skincare products. And, of course, for all you people who like chicken jokes, they are a childhood tradition, a quirky rite of passage discovered sometime between kindergarten and first grade. We are not sure why other poultry have not been singled out as the subject of silly jokes and puns. Maybe chickens do not get their feathers ruffled as easily as other poultry over foul jokes. We expect it has something to do with a chicken being in just about every pot in America, or at least on the grill or in the oven. And the next time we'll see this Poultry Day will be on Wednesday in 2025. Okay, let's see if we have any more holidays to go with here. And we're scrolling down. Oh, here we go. We got one more, and then we got to go to the motivation of the day. It's National Chocolate Caramel Day. Oh, boy. Yes, it falls on this March 19th and is a fun way to enjoy mouth-watering sugary treats. From cookies to brownies, ice creams, and milkshakes, the irresistible combination of chocolate and caramel, never fails to impress those with a sweet tooth. And while chocolate has been around since ancient times, the invention of caramel had to wait until the European settlers migrated to the New World. The combination of the two flavors by a clever confectioner gave us delicious chocolate caramel candy. Now, chocolate has a long history and was used widely across Columbian America since the ancient Central Americans established a thriving culture and grew different crops. Through contact with the European explorers, chocolate found its way to Europe and eventually to the rest of the world. The early European settlers began making candies in their homes in the latter decades of the 17th century. The earlier forms of these candies were made simply with water and sugar derived from beetroot juice. Later, fat and milk were added to produce the rich and creamy texture of caramel. Thus, the invention of chocolate caramel seems to have been an event just waiting for the two civilizations on different sides of the Atlantic to come together. It was only a matter of time before some genius mind would come up with the idea of combining the two. That lucky person was Milton Hershey. And today, the name Hershey's is synonymous with quality chocolate products, but few know the brain behind this company who single-handedly made chocolate caramel famous throughout the United States. Well, during the 1800s, when all major candy manufacturers in America were making traditional hard candies, Milton Hershey's Lancaster Caramel Company was one of the few companies that focused on making chocolate-covered caramels instead of hard candies. But it was in 1893 when these chocolate-covered caramels really became popular. Hershey was so greatly influenced by the machines used by the Germans for making chocolate bars that he adapted the same technology and started mass-producing caramel-covered chocolates. Wow. So it starts in 1866, goes to 1884, 1939 and 1945, and finally 1960. So, also don't forget to see Chocolate Day and the 50 date ideas for Valentine's Day. And now, how to celebrate it? Well, no one can resist a good old caramel-filled chocolate bar with nuts and gooey nougat. I think that would be your Snickers bar. You can send a nice chocolate bouquet to cheer up your loved ones. Just go to your local grocery shop, pick up some caramel-filled chocolate bars, drop some caramel cookies in the mix, and wrap them in see-through cellophane using a fancy ribbon or glitter tape. And there's no better way to welcome the summer than a bowl of homemade chocolate and caramel ice cream. All you need to do is blend some heavy whipping cream with chocolate chips, caramel sauce, and powdered sugar together in a blender. Pour the mix into an airtight box and freeze it overnight. Drizzle some more chocolate chips with caramel sauce on top and enjoy. And this is probably one of the simplest ways to celebrate National Chocolate Caramel Day. All you need to do is grab a coffee mug and stir in your favorite instant coffee mix with a half teaspoon of warm water, caramel, and chocolate sauce. Boil a cup of full cream milk and pour it over your coffee mix. To make that perfect coffee picture for Instagram, you can top it with a dollop of whipping cream. There you go. 5 facts about Hershey Kisses that will blow your minds. Did you know that more than 2,000 kisses are made every single minute at Hershey's plant in Pennsylvania? And there are more than 25 calories in a single Hershey Kiss. Earlier, Hershey miniatures were not sold as a separate product, but was used for sampling the flavors of its upcoming chocolate bars. I love Hershey miniatures, by the way. Early Hershey's chocolate bars were so expensive that only very wealthy people could afford them. And these chocolates are so popular that Hershey makes nearly 80 million of them alone every day. That's just Hershey Kisses, not counting the other chocolates that he has. So, why we love this day? Well, you can make many types of desserts with chocolate caramel. It is known to enhance the taste of even the blandest foods. From pancakes and brownies to coffee and cookies, chocolate and caramel go well with all types of hot and cold desserts. You can also use it as a topping on your drinks or mix it inside your cookie or cake batter. Try it on your oatmeal and see if it works too. I like oatmeal any which way. Chocolate oatmeal too. Making dessert art can be a fun way to celebrate this holiday. Caramel sauce can be spread on a baking sheet and baked until it hardens. Then it can be used to decorate cakes and brownies. It sets very easily and can be molded into artistic shapes. Working in a cool environment delivers the best results. And there are many ways to prepare chocolate caramel in your home. You can make homemade chocolate and caramel sauce with various types of sweeteners. Instead of using refined sugar, you can make it with honey, condensed milk, brown sugar, or sugarcane juice. These products contain fewer calories and add a unique taste to the finished product. We'll see this one next year on Wednesday in 2025. Okay, those were the 2 holiday days, so let's go to the Daily Motivator, dailymotivator.com, and pull that up. And today's topic is unpleasant reality. Oh boy. Ralph Marston gives us the motivation of the day. The way to deal with an unpleasant reality is not to hide from it or deny it. Instead, recognize it and then set out to either change it or change the way it affects your life. You can admit reality without admitting defeat. Accepting things for what they are does not prevent you from changing them. Indeed, the opposite is true. As soon as you can clearly see and own up to the reality of the situation, you have begun to gain power over it. Engage your imagination and picture a positive alternative to the unpleasant reality. Then put your passion, your skills, and your resources to work and bring that alternative to life. Every opportunity that exists is based in truth and reality. And by acknowledging and embracing reality, you give yourself the opportunity to improve upon it. Accept and understand your life as it is and visualize the way you would like it to be. Then, with your intention clearly and firmly in mind, get to work and make it happen. There you have it. Ralph Marston with the Daily Motivator of the Day. And that will do it for our show. Wow, we got through a pretty good one there, folks. Lots of information, some great stories, as always. And tomorrow on the program, Brandon Martin will, of course, take over for the show. And I'll be back on Thursday with more great articles. And we'll continue our week look at not only some Easter stuff, but get ready for Palm Sunday, as this weekend coming up is Palm Sunday. We'll tell you about it and how to celebrate it. And you don't even have to be Catholic to enjoy Palm Sunday. It's a very interesting, not really a holiday, but a very interesting feast day. And we'll take a look at it on Friday's edition of DMS 3000 News. I'm Jason Icanio, thanking you very much. And remember, be honest, be real, and keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow. Well, at least you'll see Brandon Martin tomorrow. You'll see me on Thursday. Good night, folks. Bye-bye.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Gary Dawson Network for more great content like this one.